What would have happened if Germany had won the war? It's a question that's often been asked and not many people want to answer. But one American couple back in the 1930s was preparing for a rather German future here in the U.S., years before a war had begun. The remains of this alternate ending are still standing in Hollywood.
The 30s was a very rough time, and they assumed that actually the American government would fall apart, and that the people that provided for themselves would then be in position to take over the government. And there certainly was a cultish fascination with fascism at the time.
As the story goes, just as Hitler was taking over Germany with fascist rhetoric in 1933, Norman and Winona Stevens got nice and cozy with Nazi sympathizers here in the States, known as the Silver Shirts. Legend has it that a mysterious Herr Schmidt convinced them to use their private wealth to build a bastion in the Santa Monica Mountains. Endless staircases and winding paths show the extent that security forces were meant to patrol on the finished compound. At the time, Silver Shirts were seen by locals meandering the grounds in uniform. This colorful structure where I'm standing was once supposed to be the water cistern that fed the entire compound, but now, as you can see, it plays host to massive amounts of graffiti, empty spray cans, and liquor bottles. Selection of one of the most famous architects of the time puzzles historians.
Paul Williams is an African American, so it's very interesting that these so-called fascists would be choosing to have the prominent African American architect of the time. He's a great architect, and use him to design the place, and that's why it's such a spectacular looking place.
Spectacular and well situated.
If you looked at the bay at the time, El Segundo, all those areas, Venice, they were all oil wells. So a place that was on the mountain that would be significant, it was significant militarily.
So the planners of this place obviously had plenty of foresight. They had water figured out, fuel figured out, a place to hold the machines, equipment, cars it would take to run this place. They also had a raised garden built right here. Nothing ever progressed past this point, or anything mentionable, really. The couple that built this place and their plans came to a rather drastic end before that could happen. When war broke out with Japan and the U.S. joined the fight against Germany, the Stevenses were locked up as enemy sympathizers, putting an end to the ranch's future as a Nazi haven. No more Silver Shirts in uniform roamed these hills. The Stevenses died in obscurity after the war. The property was then sold to create an artist colony. Now it's part of a state park, and clearly the stomping ground of graffiti artists. If I'm being honest, even walking around in the California sunshine, you get the feeling you're not alone. And given its implications, it's creepy. Guest house? In Los Angeles, Lindsay France, RT.